Hey everyone, one more short video for you today. This is something I probably should have did a video on this a long time ago because it's something a lot of people are aware of, but we were busy with the election and all that kind of stuff and the inauguration. So now that that's all behind us, I just wanted to offer a message to the Trump administration and to the people who will have a lot to say about how Trump moves forward in dealing with the massive amount of negative propaganda that he is going to be getting from the left. Now, obviously, you can deal with the press in a certain way, and I'm sure he'll do that. Sean Spicer is a pretty solid guy. I like what I've seen from him so far. It's clear that the Trump administration is going to call out the liberal media on their lies, and that's good. That's a very, very good strategy. I think it's going to be very effective. But there's another issue that's lurking somewhere in the shadows. It's very obvious to all of us, but it's something that's not being taken quite as seriously as I think it needs to be, and that is the effect of specifically George Soros. George Soros is connected to many, many different organizations, and he has a boatload of money. Okay, he has a boatload of money. There seems to be no end to the money pit, and he is not going to back down. In fact, I expect he's going to double down on the amount of money he puts into these groups. It's pretty obvious that George Soros wants to just create chaos, just to create chaos. We know that I'm not even going to go back into his long history of being a Nazi sympathizer and all that stuff. It's not really relevant to what's going on. But what is relevant is what we're seeing happening right now on the streets today in America. It's going to continue. No matter what Trump does, he could create 1 billion jobs. He could bring wealth and prosperity. He could secure the border. He could give us a much better healthcare system. He could give us a sane foreign policy. He can do all these things, and none of that is going to stop George Soros and all the groups that he and his friends fund. Now, these people are into creating straight up chaos. Now, here's my message to the Trump administration. It's time to deal with George Soros. Essentially, you need to have the FBI, and I hope you replace Comey with another FBI director, but you need to have the FBI begin to seriously investigate George Soros. These things that he's funding are not just protests. If he were just funding protests, that would be one thing. But he is funding, and along with just the funding for these groups, paying people to come out and do it, he's also funding other groups within these groups, like subgroups, who actually do a lot of seminars, a lot of teaching. And we know what they're teaching because we've seen it from the Project Veritas videos. We have seen it in other videos, and we see it playing out on the streets. They are coaching people to instigate violence, to destroy public property, and this is only going to be ramped up more and more and more. Now, if you ask me, if I'm the FBI director and I have someone who is using their money and influence to instigate violence and property damage and all these sorts of things, you know, it's getting dangerously close to domestic terrorism. And I'm very careful when I use that phrase because I worry a lot about normal, typical criminal acts all of a sudden being associated with terrorism, because I really like to keep a very clear line between what is terrorism and what is just, you know, domestic crime. And crime's one thing, terrorism is another thing. But, you know, what George Soros is doing, even if it's not full-blown terrorism, it is certainly criminal. And so my message to the Trump administration is that you immediately begin to put some FBI folks into a serious investigation of George Soros, and that you investigate him, and if you can find that his money is tied to organizations that are promoting the provoking of violence, these are crimes. If you can prove that George Soros is behind these efforts to create crime, then we now have criminal activity, and he should be held accountable. So my message to the Trump administration is you need to get a handle on George Soros. You need to investigate him, and you need to charge him and prosecute him if you can find the evidence to prove his guilt. That's what you need to really focus on, because he is only going to continue to do more and more and more and more, and this thing could get out of hand. And it's going to reflect very badly on the Trump administration. And it's a very subversive sort of approach to politics. There've always been dirty politics and these types of things, but we're now have stepped into a new dimension of crime and even possibly even domestic terrorism. And it's something that needs to be addressed. Now, I know it wasn't going to be addressed during the past 8 years of the Obama administration, or certainly not with Hillary Clinton, because they're all good buddies. But now that they're gone and that we have a new administration, and George Soros is not going away, he's still got tons of money, and he's fully committed to continuing chaos, not just here in America, but around the globe. And I know in Russia, they want him dead. Not dead or alive, not arrested. They want him dead. If he steps his foot into Russia, they won't arrest him. They'll kill him, quite honestly. So now I'm not advocating for that, because in the United States we don't operate that way. But I am suggesting to the Trump administration, you better get some investigators at the FBI to start doing a real investigation of what Soros and his various organizations are up to. And if you can find criminal activity, and I think you can, related to George Soros, then I think that you need to charge him and prosecute him, and hopefully successfully, and put him in jail, because the man is flat dangerous. He's dangerous to the country. He's dangerous to the world. He's been going off pretty much for the past 8 years, and much longer actually, completely unchecked. And it's time to check George Soros. Time to put him in his place and take him out of the game, because he creates a lot of very big problems. He's not going away, and so we need to make him go away. And so I do hope the Trump administration will get busy investigating, charging, prosecuting, and jailing George Soros. He's pure evil. All right, everybody. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And share the video with your friends. Appreciate it. Y'all take care. Bye.